The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Join JJ and Alex this Friday from 3 to 6 at Providence Hall Charter School, a tuition-free public charter serving grades K through 12, 4557 West Patriot Ridge Drive in Harriman. Providence Charter School, Hall Charter School. Check it out. Ben, the NFL draft starts tomorrow. I hate that it's 9 days long.
Yeah.
I really don't like that the NBA is following suit. And they make the first round take an excruciatingly long time. But we were talking about local connections yesterday to the NFL draft, and maybe we didn't talk about Jackson Dart enough. If you didn't hear his dad, Brandon, on with DJ and PK this morning, I thought he was really good, and he talked a lot. And one thing he talked about was what teams have been doing the most diligence on Jackson, and the answer shouldn't surprise you. It's like he mentioned the Giants and the Browns and the Steelers and there was a fourth one that is slipping. Oh, and the New Orleans Saints.
Yep.
And it's all the teams that need quarterbacks.
Right.
You know, what a surprise. All the teams that are likely going to draft a quarterback are showing the most interest in Jackson Dart. But what I thought was kind of, it got me thinking about drafts and projections and why we just make assumptions that people are right. Like, I think, because he even talked about this, that if Jackson ends up with the Browns or the Giants, they'll have traded down. Well, the game is so weird because if your quarterback, if you have confidence that like Jackson Dart is your guy, why don't you take him at 2?
Yeah.
Like, why would you play the song and dance of trading down just because somebody like Mel Kiper and his bad hairdo say that he's a second-round quarterback? Like that, but it would be the smart thing to trade down, right? Because all the other teams are buying into what the hairdo says about where this guy should go and that guy should go. It's this weird thing where we just assume that draft projections are right. And it got me thinking about this, Ben. I don't think old Zeke Thomas has done much right when it comes to running things.
Yeah.
But what he did in New York was he made some pretty bold picks. You remind me, there was one where he made that a guy that wasn't even projected to get drafted. Zeke took him like 17. I should go back and look. But
Blackman.
Was that who it was?
I think it was.
And
yeah.
he just got grilled. And Zeke, being the true moron that he is, did not hit on that pick. But you know what I like about it is he was bold. He's like, I got a guy, I'm going to take him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I find it curious in the NFL where you see these like high risk type, where they maybe have an incident in their past or something like that. But they're really good. I don't know if a good example is coming to mind right now, but we can kind of picture what I'm talking about, right? And people go like, "Oh, I'd never draft that guy." Well, maybe in the 5th round.
Yeah.
Like what sense does that make? Is the player going to be good or not?
It was Ronaldo Balkman, by the way. Yeah, not Blackman. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
So be bold in the draft. I don't know. I don't understand why we give so much credit to the people who are projecting where somebody should or should not go. And then I think the smart general managers like Danny Ainge actually prey on people for believing in that so much. I just don't get it. If you don't know anything about Dante Exum, and you're really unsure about it,
yeah.
What difference does it make where people projected him going, don't make that pick somebody else? I don't get that.
Yeah, more pressure into taking a guy you may not be comfortable with than the trading back aspect of saying, like, I think you're better served, to your point. If you totally believe in a guy, just take him. Like, whatever. The Jazz notoriously did this with Jeremy Evans. When Jeremy Evans got drafted in the 2nd round, everyone was like, who? This guy's not on any draft boards. Nobody thought he was an NBA player. He was a borderline player. He ended up making it okay. He was actually a very good 2nd-round pick, right? Stuck around for 3 or 4 seasons. The Jazz could have gotten him as an unsigned free agent, most likely. But they didn't make a mistake by signing him or by drafting him rather than using it on somebody else who didn't pan out. That was the guy they wanted. They went out and they got him. And I think that's fine to do. So to your point, if you do believe that Shedeur Sanders or whatever is the second best player in the draft, I don't have a problem with you doing it. I do recognize the desire to maximize the most value you have with your picks, but I think teams get themselves in trouble with that of saying, well, you can't take him 4, so you got to trade back. I kind of talk about this as the, Kelly Olynyk, Kyle Filipowski conundrum. Just like, Kyle Filipowski is definitely going to be the 12th best player from this draft class. And that was going to be true always. He's 7 feet tall. He does X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. But how good is the 12th player in any draft class ever? He's not going to be the 3rd best, and you need the 3rd best to win a title or to be the next best team. So would you have been smart to draft him at 12 if he's going to be the 12th best player versus taking a swing on a guy that you think has a higher upside?
The first best player,
because if he ends up being the best player, you get more value. You go back and look at the year Kelly Olynyk got drafted. He got drafted in front of Rudy Gobert and Giannis Antetokounmpo. But he's also still one of the only players from that draft that's still in the league. And Anthony Bennett went number 1 overall. So Kelly was a better player than the number 1 pick. A lot better player than the number 1 overall pick. But he wasn't the best player in the draft. And how do you weigh that? I think that's a hard part of the job.
I think Shedeur is a different type of manipulation, honestly. I think he has been a media... all these words that keep coming to mind are too strong, but there's a lot of propaganda that surrounds Shedeur.
Of course.
Because of Dion and because of what Dion's created. I mean, for crying out loud, Ben, they retired his number already at Colorado.
Yeah. I
mean, they didn't win the national championship. He didn't win the Heisman.
They didn't win the Big 12.
Was he even the all Big 12 quarterback? He might have been, actually.
Regardless.
That's a hype thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's stupid. There's no reason
it's
to do
like
that.
a celebrity thing.
Yeah.
I think, we were talking about Shedeur off the air. He's got a hitch in his delivery.
Yeah.
He does the pump fake. He doesn't have a great arm. He holds the ball forever. He's not particularly athletic. But yet, you know what? Somebody's going to take him top 10.
I think so. I know there's, ESPN
but
now.
That's crazy. See, that's a different type of crazy. That's picking Tim Tebow in the first round. No offense, Christian.
Yeah.
Where you bought the media creation. You bought the narrative. That's picking Johnny Football in the first round.
Yeah. And it happens a lot.
That's picking Jimmer Ninth if we want to or wasn't it Ninth?
Where was whatever it was, top 10.
That's if we want to merge two conversations. Yeah. There's a lot of dumb general managers out there. Steve Von Smith Sr. was 100% correct about that.
And, the flip side of this argument
is his controversy over, by the way? That wasn't a good one.
Steve Smith?
Yeah.
The affair?
Uh-huh.
It seemed like it came and went. Certainly we remember more the husband who was wronged, exposing himself, not literally exposing himself, but outing himself for getting cheated on, than we will Steve. Who cares? I mean, it probably hasn't been a great couple of months for Steve's personal life, but...
I'm guessing not. But he was right about that.
The NFL world has forgiven him, believe it or not.
It's funny. You think these people you're the general manager of an NFL team. You must know what you're doing.
No, and
not
you know what?
always the case.
You bring up the Dante Exum thing where the Jazz clearly felt pressured to draft a guy that they had never worked out and had probably talked to on the phone but hadn't seen him the way they wanted to. You know who you have to tip your cap to in that process? The Orlando Magic.
Who picked Aaron Gordon.
Because they bucked everybody and everyone said it's going to be Wiggins 1, Jabari 2, Joel, and Dante Exum. It's the 4 guys you got to take at the top of this draft, and you're getting an all-star and all of them.
It wasn't even Joel. It was Exum ahead of Joel because he had the back foot thing that had killed his
But those
value.
were the 4 guys.
Mm-hmm.
You knew they were going top 4, which is why the Jazz had not really done their due diligence on those guys and had worked out Aaron Gordon twice, thinking that's who was going to be there. And then on draft night, Orlando said, no, there's a guy we like. We're going to go get him.
Well, and he didn't even turn out to be a guy either.
But he was better than Dante.
Much better.
A lot better than Dante.
Yeah, right.
So that was the smart move. Yeah, you have to have some guts in this situation. And it will be interesting to see what happens with the Jazz. I don't want to get too far ahead of us. But, this same situation is there are a perceived top 4 guys in this draft. The Jazz can fall technically as far as 5. But, let's say the Jazz end up at 3 or 4, not with the obvious top 2 players. Would they do something crazy and not take an Ace Bailey or a VJ Edgecombe and go and get somebody else if they just think that, we've watched them all. I trust my instincts.
But back to the beginning of this convo, at that point, why not just trade down?
Correct. And that's where Danny Ainge has done
Right.
has gotten other GMs fired.
Because Magic got buffaloed by LeVar Ball and was going to draft Lonzo, and everybody on the planet knew it. And somehow we got wind that Philadelphia fell in love with Markelle Fultz. And so he plays everybody. I mean, it's the double-edged sword. It's crazy. But I'm surprised that a guy like Mel Kiper, for example, has so much sway. A guy, he's just a media dude. I remember he really screwed over a BYU quarterback, Ben. I don't know if you remember the name John Walsh. He was the quarterback at BYU before Steve Sarkisian.
Okay.
And he was really good. When Mel Kiper said, this is going to be one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the draft. And Walsh left BYU early.
Oh, yeah.
And jumped into the draft. Did not get drafted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whoops. But nobody talks about that. Everybody just assumes Mel Kiper is a genius. And he has this crazy power, which I wouldn't be surprised if he has benefited from financially on the side. But I'm not here to throw out accusations.
Sure.
But he can, some random hairdo on ESPN can make or break a career before it even gets started based on what?
The amount of attention he gets.
But like what an agent is feeding him, what a team is feeding him.
Right.
I mean, notoriously in the NFL, all that stuff is what do they say? Very little gold amongst the chicken feed. So you have young people that honestly are make it or break it in the NFL based on that hairdo's opinion. I don't get it. The Gavoni guy that we always make fun of.
Jonathan Gavoni. Who's really good at it. I mean, he's good at his job.
If you drop him if you drop a player, like say you have a player who's mid-first round and all of a sudden you drop Gavoni, drops him to the second round, that guy all of a sudden is not going to go in the first round because every cowardly general manager out there is like, well, I'm going to get blasted if I take this guy with 15. Oh, who's the Euro from Illinois?
Yakashonis.
That poor guy is plummeting like a stone. So based on these unqualified opinions, that guy is literally going to lose out on millions of dollars.
And I'm even a little hesitant to say unqualified, but here's the thing. There's no consequence if he's wrong. There's a huge consequence if you're wrong as a GM.
Well, Chad Ford did try to go back and correct the...
And that was Chad Ford's problem. Like, why did you go back and rewrite your articles?
That's crazy. Yeah, nobody would have cared. Nobody would have looked
Your
or cared
own
or whatever.
vanity
Yeah, got yourself in trouble.
Got you fired.
Yeah, but nobody cares. Nobody cares how wrong Mel Kiper was, or how he had this guy as the can't miss linebacker, got to take him in the first round, and he turns out to be out of the league in 2 years.
So yes, to
Mel
that
just
point,
moves on.
your general manager shouldn't care because what was Mel wrong about of the 32 picks last year? 23 of them?
All of them.
And not just like where they were going to go, but who they could turn into and what kind of players they were going to be. And it's human nature. I don't blame Mel for falling in love with these players every year. It's what he's covering. He's watching these guys. I have zero doubt he's doing the work. I know he does the work. I believe he does the work. He watches the players. He talks to the agents. He does all of the things. But the human nature of it is you start to believe in these guys in a silly way. And it's the problem with drafts overall. But then the draft has been, we've had ESPN on in this room. Again, I told you I went to a concert and I was in a restaurant on St. Patrick's Day. When was that? Mid-March? There was a dude talking about the NFL draft back then to all of his buddies, and they weren't interested. Like the draft is in itself one of the 5 biggest sporting events in our country. It's like there's the Super Bowl's number 1. The NFL draft has an argument to be number 2. It's that big of a deal, and Mel Kiper is the guy who has helped make it that big of a deal by turning it into this type of TV thing. But as a result, he wants to believe that there's greatness every draft and that there's, great players, and he falls in love with them and sells them. And it makes for great TV, captivating conversations, and the hope that your sports team will be fixed. And so it's the human nature, the flaw of believing that, because it's a part of his gig. It's a part of his job.
Our mutual friend, Kyle Gunther, the biggest mistake that his agent made was not...
Tyrone?
Was that his name?
His agent, Tyrone.
Was not bribing Mel Kiper. Listen, Mel, I'll give you $5,000. Just put my dude in the 4th round.
Yeah.
How often does that happen? You mentioned talking to the agents. Do you want Mel talking to the agents? You know what I mean?
Well, and look, knowing how things work out, because what you're saying might sound conspiracy theory, whatever the word is I'm looking for, might sound like a conspiracy theory to people. Like NBA teams work out players for agents knowing that European teams will say, well, he worked out for an NBA team.
Yeah.
With no chance of ever making the NBA. Zero chance this guy's ever going to be an NBA player. An NBA team will welcome them in for a workout to do a favor for an agent so they get their actual first-round pick in for a workout, a specific workout, work them out against other guys, get a 1-on-0, whatever they're looking for. And the agent says, well, now this kid also, who wasn't going to get drafted, gets to go play in Europe, and I get an extra $30,000 just by you working him out for us.
That's it.
So what a trade, what a deal for me. Great, yeah. Love that. So that type of thing does happen.
All the time.
I would hope it's not happening in the draft, but do I think anyone's immune to that? Of course not.
No. And I'm sure they'll dress it up in some nice language of, well, we gave him this money for this and his side organization here and all that stuff. But
he was a consultant.
Like I'll tell you this. I pretty much believe the reason that Svi was on the Jazz was his agent is also Lowry's agent.
Yes.
Like at very least they got to look at him for that reason. You know what I mean? Like, we'll give your dude a look because you're being so great to deal with over here.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's fine. But when it crosses into all of a sudden media and then it crosses into where these people have way too much say for no reason other than they control the public backlash, which is kind of hilarious. I just don't understand. I don't understand why GMs are so prey to that. And good ones too. Like, I think Dennis Lindsey was a good GM.
Of course.
Why did you draft Dante Exum?
Who was the pre-draft? He's the NFL guy. He's the old guy who said that he thought Lamar Jackson was going to be a better receiver than quarterback. What's his name? He still does it, but he's a trillion years old and former NFL coach. Bill Polian, right? Bill Polian was like, Lamar Jackson's better as a receiver. It's like, okay, dinosaur. Like, I get it. You never saw a black quarterback when you were in your prime. And now you just don't think he can do it. And, like, he fell to the first pick of the second round.
No.
Last pick of the first round. It's like, he's been the best player in the NFL for 5 years now. Mahomes is in there or whatever, but how many MVPs does he have? It's like, yeah, one guy's belief was wrong. And it has impact because people watch TV.
Yeah.
People have the TV on. I promise you, I've walked through sporting facilities where you go and ESPN is on in the morning. People are consuming it, whether it's passive or not, and would like to think that, just because they're saying it, it doesn't bleed into me. Naturally, it does. You hear it. It gets into your subconscious. You start to echo those things. You start to wonder, is that actually something I believe because they said it? And it's a flaw.
So, if we're to take a jazz lesson out of this, I think Danny Ainge has played this whole convoluted mess pretty well in the past, and Jazz fans are betting that he can do it again. But, it's funny to see what an inexact science. How many, in just the Jazz alone, Ben, on a yearly basis, what do you think the budget is for just preparation for the NBA draft? So we're talking
travel, scouts being on the road,
analytics. We're talking about all that stuff.
Several million.
Yeah, several, I think, is understating.
Yeah.
And yet, we're going to take Dante. But you've never even met the guy, and you haven't seen him, and he hasn't played in a year.
Yeah.
Nope.
Got to have him.
That's our guy.
Yeah.
But you drafted Trey Burke. Ah! We're taking Dante. You saw what Gavoni said.
Got to take him.
I don't want to take the emails if we don't take him, all right?
They passed on Marcus Smart, right?
I'd have to go back and look.
It's tough.
I'm sure there were better players than what Dante turned into, no offense.
Yep.
He was always a nice young man. All right, stay tuned. What you got Wednesday? And I think it's going to be a hard one, frankly, coming up next.
Okay.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Take the Zone with you wherever you go. Download the KSL Sports app to get live streaming of your favorite shows.
Downloading.
Download the latest podcasts and get all the latest breaking news on the teams you can't live without. Everything you need delivered right to your phone.
Let's go get them where we can get them.
Just search KSL Sports on your app store of choice. Download it now. The KSL Sports app, presented by University of Utah Health. Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What you got Wednesday? What's the deal?
got rules, Ben's out to steal. Bozo takes their spinning around. Flush it down, flush it down. Emo skater Ben with a devious grin.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake, Scott, Ben, Anderson. Do you believe in karma? Log on to KSLSports.com to help raise money for a great cause and create some good vibes for the Jazz in the NBA Draft Lottery. It's the KSL Sports 241. Donate at least $2 to Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital in hopes of the Jazz recouping the winning basketball here in Utah. Go to KSLSports.com and donate your $2 today.
Do it.
All right, it's time. You may have noticed our catchy new intro song. It's What You Got Wednesday.
Pay royalties on that thing.
It's if you're new to the show, Ben and I go head to head every Wednesday on 2 5-selection drafts, one sports related, one not, and then we put it out for a vote on the Snap Talk. Last week, Christian, I don't think it went well for me.
I thought you won one and I won one, but maybe I'm
Did
wrong.
we split?
Worst hair in sports, Ben won 75 to 25.
Wow, I got drubbed.
Best Jack Black movies. This might be the most lopsided victory we've seen. Jake, you won 89 to 11.
Wow.
Wow,
Okay.
yeah. And I'm not even that big of a Jack Black fan.
Neither am I, but you took Nacho Libre, and I think that's the one people have seen. So
I
apparently people didn't like The Holiday.
love High Fidelity.
Yeah.
That's actually a good movie. And you know what? School of Rock is actually a good movie.
We did it in honor of Minecraft, which you have seen. I've not seen Minecraft.
I did go to see that.
Would you have drafted it now?
No.
Would it have made your top 5?
No.
I wouldn't have. Okay. Okay.
But my 7-year-old won't shut up about wanting to play Minecraft now.
Okay.
So that's nice.
Well,
so
get her on board.
So glad we went
It
to see
really
it.
is a fun game.
Yeah, I'm sure it's terrific. All right, what is our sports related draft?
All right, in case you missed it, Jimmer Fredette announced his retirement from the game of basketball. So today, in his honor, we're going to go with best Jims or James in sports.
Jimmy, all the things.
Yeah, all the variations.
Okay. So I have the number 1 pick.
Yep.
Is there a consensus, numero uno?
Absolutely.
There is?
Yeah.
Because I would have said no to that.
Okay.
Oh, now I'm worried I'm taking the wrong guy.
Okay.
Going with the great Jim Brown.
Jim Brown. Yeah, that's fine.
Star of Mars Attacks.
I had him number 2 on my board. Mars Attacks again comes up. Jim Brown. Yeah. LeBron.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking last names. No.
Yeah,
that's
LeBron, the greatest James of all time.
Yeah,
He's
well,
the best basketball
I
player
would
ever.
rather have Jim Brown. Jim Brown is a bigger legend than LeBron.
That's not true.
Absolutely
It's
is
not going to be true.
1,000%.
Jim Brown will be long forgotten, though I like Jim Brown way before LeBron.
Mars Attacks, a million times better than Space
Jam
Jam
2?
the reheat.
What was the
Jim
car
Brown.
wreck or whatever?
Jim Brown
Train
was
wreck.
in the Dirty Dozen.
Yeah, whatever. We're talking about the greatest basketball player of all time, probably.
You could make an argument Jim Brown is the greatest football player of all time.
Maybe. You could make the argument.
All right. I'm going local here. Legend. Jim McMahon.
Good pick.
Jimmy Mack.
Was he
Quarterback
on
of...
the BYU cruise? I think he was.
Was he?
Was he?
Now, if he was on the BYU cruise, that is just an example of how any fence can truly be mended.
Yeah.
Because he and BYU did not get along for a very long time. And honestly, when Tom Holmoe was made athletic director, that relationship started to improve. But to improve to the point where Jim McMahon would go on like a sober cruise with the BYU fans.
Supposed to be sober cruise. I don't know anything about Jim McMahon.
So awesome. Jim McMahon. I'm glad I got him.
Good pick. All right, I will go with the better quarterback, with all due respect, though he didn't win a Super Bowl, right? Jim Kelly.
Yeah, he sucked.
No, he didn't, but he did not ever break through with the Bills. But like 5 Pro Bowls or whatever. He was a very good player.
All right. Can I get that guy later? I'm going to go with old Jimmy Johnson,
Okay.
the football coach.
Yeah. I'm going to go Jimmy J. I've got him on my list. Number 6. He's one of the greatest football coaches of all time. And like a fun personality. I'm glad he's on Fox in the mornings and fun at Miami and it was fun with the Cowboys. It's what you like. Pro Jimmy Johnson. I will take, because I think I'm going to be able to get a guy later, but I've got plenty of Jims and James on this board. I'm going to take Edgerrin James. Hall of Famer. Maybe a couple of seasons the best running back in the NFL. He was awesome.
All right. I'm going to keep it. No, you know what? I'm going to go with this. Another coach, Ben. Jim Harbaugh.
Okay. You hate Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but he has a lot of notoriety.
He does. Very famous. All right, which direction do I want to go now? I got a couple of options here. Because I feel like I have to take this guy somewhere. Should we take Jimmer off the board since this is in honor of Jimmer?
That's up to you,
All right, I'll take Jimmer. I'll go with Jimmer. In honor of who we're doing this draft for. I feel like that's a cheat.
Yeah.
I feel bad about it.
I wouldn't. I'm staying local, Ben.
Okay.
Jim Nantz.
Okay. Going all broadcasters or personnel or non-players.
Jim Nantz.
See if I can spell Jim's name wrong. Right.
Nantz.
Well, I put an M down for some reason, thinking I was writing an N. Nance.
I mean, you can't beat that old video with Jim Nantz interviewing John Stockton and Bobby Hansen in the hot tub.
In the hot tub. I want to mix it up a little bit more than this, but there's no reason to, and there's a very obvious answer here, and I'm going with the beard, James Harden.
Yeah, I wasn't drafting him.
Yeah, so that's why I waited for fifth. I knew I was going to pick him. I knew I could get him as late as I wanted, so I saved it. A lot of good Jims and James still that we left on the board.
No Jimmy Butler.
No Jimmy Butler. Should have taken Jimmy. Jimmy rules.
Over Jim Nantz? I don't think so.
Jimmy Graham. Very good. Jim Thome. Jim Edmonds. Some very good baseball players as well.
You know the only notable thing about Jim Edmonds? You know he made all those diving catches. That was his thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't because he was super good at that because he was the slowest player in Major League Baseball, and for some reason the Cardinals played him at center.
Yeah.
So like routine fly balls,
Yeah.
Jim's diving.
He was also diving for balls he didn't need to dive for. It's like,
Right.
let me make a highlight out of this.
This happened in Little League a lot, right? The old catch, like it hits the glove and then,
Yeah.
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 That happened a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Recap, Christian.
Jake, you had the number one pick. You went Jim Brown, Jim McMahon, who was on the BYU cruise, by the way.
Nice.
Good for
Jimmy
Jim.
Johnson, Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Nantz. Ben, you went LeBron James, Jim Kelly, Edgerrin James, Jimmer Fredette, and James Harden.
That was a good draft. A lot of good Jameses. A lot of good Jimses.
This next one's going to be interesting.
The hard part about this next one is appealing to our audience.
Yeah.
Christian, what are we doing?
Let's go with worst acting performances.
Okay.
This is something Jake and I are passionate about.
Worst acting performances. And the list is long.
The list is long.
Is there a number one?
By the way, my dad texted Jim Thorpe.
Oh, yeah, legend.
Yeah, good one there. I had one that immediately jumped to mind.
So did I.
It's not
By
going
the
to
way,
be one you picked.
the inspiration for this, we don't even need to mention
Yeah, 'cause
we
it
may
might
pick
get
her.
drafted.
Yeah.
The one that jumped to mind, and I love everything else about this movie, but it's almost impossible to watch because of him. Ray Allen in He Got Game is so bad.
He is bad.
It's
Yeah.
just, and I get it. He's an NBA player. He's not supposed to be a great actor, but it's so robotic. The lines are so poorly delivered that it ruins like a great Spike Lee joint, as he likes to say, a great Denzel performance. It just doesn't make sense. And I get it was supposed to be Kobe, and Kobe airballed all the threes against the Jazz. I was like, I can't go star in a movie after airballing threes in a playoff game. Like, people are going to think I'm not working hard. Ray Allen, He Got Game.
This was going to be my consensus
Okay.
because it was an acting performance so bad.
Okay. Excited to see what this is.
It ruined what could be the best movie franchise of all time.
Okay. I know where you're going.
Sofia Coppola in The Godfather Part 3. Frank Coppola was so desperate to get his daughter attention
Yeah.
that he cast her in the third Godfather movie, and she was so bad. Well, she wasn't the only thing bad about that movie.
Right.
But she was really bad.
And has gone on to have a great career as a director.
Director, but not as an actress.
Yeah.
Sofia Coppola.
Okay, you know what? I will keep it within the Coppola family, and there's a lot to pick from here.
Oh, I know where you're going here, too.
But I'm going with Nick Cage.
Uh-huh.
And I'm actually going to take Nick Cage in an unpopular opinion in Con Air.
Well, that's a dreadful movie.
Con Air is great to watch. It is so fun to watch. But Nick Cage put the bunny back in the box is so bad. And he's got the long hair, and it's so stupid. Watch Con Air and enjoy it, but ask yourself if Nick Cage is doing a good job. And there's at no point where you're saying, like, I really buy what he's selling. It's awful. But yeah, give me Nick Cage.
My next pick is an example of a truly poor performance that ruins well, let me say I'm taking Russell Crowe as Javert.
I've got it.
In Les Mis.
It's actually 2 on my board. I didn't think you would take it.
Thousands of people have played that character. Thousands. You have to truly have a bad performance to be the worst one.
Okay. For it to be notable.
Like there are high school kids that have played that role that did better than Russell Crowe. And how long had they been waiting to make a movie out of that? You know what I mean?
Right.
How patiently had they been to make Les Mis the movie? And then probably the most critical character, you get just a stinker.
Get someone who can sing. He can't sing. You
It's
don't
so
need
bad.
star power. Everyone's going to go
it's Les
see
Mis.
the $1 billion Les Mis movie. And it had plenty of star power in it. You had Hugh Jackman, peak Hugh Jackman, like post X-Men in his prime. If people didn't know, Hugh Jackman was a musical performer before that. He was going to kill it, and he did. Ruined it with Russ Crowe.
Ruined it with old Rusty.
Okay, no one knows this kid's name, but Jake Lloyd, and I think what you need to put is young Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars movies.
Okay.
It's crazy how bad he is. Yeah. Same thing. You could have cast any person in the world. And, this is coming off of right before some great performances. I don't remember when, speaking of Haley Joel Osment, when Sixth Sense came out. If it was before Star Wars, probably right around there. And he's awesome. But Jake Lloyd in Star Wars, he just absolutely whiffs for... Is he only in the first episode, and then it's older Anakin in the second?
The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, it's bad.
And then Hayden Christensen takes over, who is not particularly good either.
Not good either. But much better than Jake Lloyd.
Much?
The third one's a good movie. That they're
20th
doing the 20th anniversary
this
now.
weekend.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. I'm going to take this even though I loved this movie as a kid.
Okay.
But the performance definitely does not hold up.
I know where you're going.
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner and Robin Hood.
That's Robin Hood in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I loved that movie as a kid. I still feel nostalgic about it, but the 90s, hairstyle and all the things, just not.
Who's Sheriff of Nottingham? What's the actor's name?
Oh yeah, he's great. Rest his soul.
Yeah.
Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman is so good in it and absolutely steals the show. And Kevin Costner's he doesn't have an accent, and then he has an accent. It's just a mess.
Yeah, a mess. That's a good way to put it.
It's funny, Kevin Costner really had it in the early 90s, but
not there.
No shows there. All right. We're getting a little thinner than I expected because you've picked ones that were all on my board, so I'm a little surprised by that, but I think I'll have enough. I'm going to go with another great early 90s performance. Give me Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze in Batman.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty bad.
He could not do it.
Pretty bad.
Some corny lines, which is fine. That's part of Batman, but notoriously a poor performance from Arnold.
There's a number of directions that we could go here. See, I think I'm going to lose this anyway, so do I just pick my personal dislikes and then just because I'm going to go with Meryl Streep and Mamma Mia?
Okay.
Why on earth are you miscast? She can't sing, all the things. It's so bad.
You could have also gone with James Bond, who's in Mamma Mia.
Oh, yeah, he's bad too. Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah. Also can't sing.
No.
And gets that role.
But Meryl's character is supposed to be 40 in that movie, and she's 72.
Yeah.
Just not. It's bad all the way around.
All right, and then I'll do a recent one, even though there's more I'd probably rather take. Give me Tom Hanks and Elvis as the Colonel.
A lot of people are saying that. Yeah.
Awful. It's unwatchable because of that. I didn't get why they felt the need to put him in there. I mean, I get it's Tom Hanks, but that was a terrible performance. Which Tom Hanks has more commonly now bad performances than good performances, unfortunately.
Yeah, even that Coen Brothers movie he was in.
Yeah.
Where I thought, oh, this may have potential, and it was just a stinker, and he was distracting.
Yeah. Lady Killers?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it just wasn't good.
Yep.
All right, my last one, Ben, and this is not this actor's fault.
Okay.
Okay? Omar Epps
Okay.
in Major League 2.
Okay.
Listen, if you're going to get rid of Wesley Snipes, just write him out of the script.
Yeah, don't replace him.
Don't just replace him. I mean, it's borderline offensive, really. And it's not hard to write. Like, it happens in TV and movies all the time. You just write that character out.
Yeah, he went to the major, or he got called. He got put
traded
back
or
down.
something
Yeah,
or
right,
whatever,
exactly
yeah.
right. So easy.
It's not hard.
So many easy
Don't
outs.
just plug in a different actor and then just go. But that happens a lot too, I guess. But Omar Epps was not good in Major League 2. Major League 2 was not good.
Yeah.
And I don't really blame him entirely. But Omar Epps.
Yep.
Review.
Ben, you had the number one pick. You went Ray Allen and He Got Game, Nick Cage in Con Air, Jake Lloyd as young Anakin Skywalker, Arnold Schwarzenegger in Batman, and Tom Hanks in Elvis. Jake, you went Sofia Coppola in The Godfather Part 3, Russell Crowe in Les Mis, Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, Meryl Streep in Mamma Mia, and Omar Epps in Major League 2.
We missed some.
Tommy Wiseau in that
But
movie
he's like
he
not
made.
an actor.
But he's not an actor, and that's not a real movie. But that's like a
Notoriously
one.
the worst performance of all time. Christian, a movie you and I both really like, Dracula. Keanu Reeves is unwatchable in Dracula. The rest of the movie's really awesome.
He is really bad in that one.
Kristen Stewart in Twilight. She has some moments where she's okay, and then she has some moments where.
You guys didn't even take who inspired this draft.
Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz
I thought about it,
in Gangs of New York.
but then I took Meryl instead.
What else? I had one more on here. No, maybe that was it. All right.
She
I got most
was
of mine.
awful in that movie. All right. We'll put it out for a vote. Follow Jake and Ben on the Twitter, the Jake and Ben Show, and we'll get that up a little bit later on today. All right. Wrapping up the show. Coming up next, Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro.
You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
Cheap bangs, cheap bangs.
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two niggas on the airways, talking sports. They got him Matrix and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarf. Oh my.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This segment brought to you by our friends at Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255, Peach Doors and Windows. No Shannon Sharp this morning on First Take. That's not a good story. That's out there.
Is he ESPN? I thought he was doing something else. But maybe
No,
you're probably right.
he's been ever since he left Skipper. He does a couple of days a week on First Take with old Screamin' A, and then he also does that pop culture podcast at some Club Shay Shay or something.
Yes. I tune into that
See,
sometimes.
Christian knows because Christian's a Broncos fan.
Yeah.
And you loved Shannon Sharp, the player. How about that?
Hell of a tight end.
Yeah, he was very good on those Broncos teams that I hated so much. We could change the subject, Ben. Apologies.
No real upside to.
Didn't mean to really go there. No, that's not really productive. So do you think the Warriors take a 2-0 lead and go home with it?
I do worry for the Rockets that we knew their offense wasn't good, especially their half-court offense. The Warriors are completely fine slowing it down. There might not be any player better in the NBA at being able to get what he wants offensively in the half-court than Jimmy Butler. Now, look, like he's not better than Luka. I'm not going to say that, but Jimmy doesn't care. Jimmy will play painfully slow. He played really slow with the Miami Heat for a long time. So he's done this very well throughout his career, and he's taken teams to the finals playing slow. So if their goal is to play this really slow, I don't think the Rockets have a guy outside of Şengün who can create enough offense.
Well, don't let them dictate the pace, Ben.
I'm right. I'm with you. So you got to generate takeaways. You got to generate steals. You got to get transition opportunities. And then you got to play fast even when they make it. But it's hard to do.
When they do play slow, then you have to make them pay for it. That's where you pull Steven Adams aside and you say, you don't leave a foul on the board.
Yeah, right. 20 minutes, 6 fouls.
And hard ones.
3 broken noses. But, yeah, it's hard. That's the hard thing to do. And that's why I think there's understandable concern about how the Oklahoma City Thunder play. Because they're an okay rebounding team. They are a great transition team, right? Remember, they just get a ton of steals. Well, teams slow the game to a halt in the playoffs.
And don't turn it over.
Yeah, 95 points. We've seen it twice already. We've seen 2 teams win games scoring 95 or less already. So while I'm not saying I don't think OKC is still the favorite in the West, they are. When these games slow down and they're not getting 12 more shots a game or 12 more possessions a game because they're generating so many takeaways, that gets really difficult to continue to win that way. And then you are relying on a half-court offense, which goes back to outside of Shea, do the Thunder have a guy who's good enough to score in the half court? And the nice thing about the Warriors is Jimmy can and Steph can. They can run their offense in the half court. It's not a big deal.
You know what's funny? Like cheat codes, or what am I looking for here? Like gimmicks really get revealed in the playoffs. And one way to get better, gimmickly get better, like maybe artificially get better, improve your stats and your record and all that stuff, is to speed up the tempo.
Yeah.
And so if Houston, makes a jump to the 2nd seed in the West, how real is that? Well, if you look at their tempo and the way that they've kind of created a gimmick, might not be that real.
Yeah.
Houston might not be that team yet. Tom Thibodeau's gimmick is to play everybody for 42 minutes,
Uh-huh.
Like, are the Knicks good, or do they just play their players 10 minutes longer than everybody else?
But by the time you get to the playoffs,
it all evens out.
You don't have any depth, and
everybody plays
42.
Yeah, everybody plays 40 minutes.
But they have the advantage of not playing all their guys 42 all year long, so they're fresher.
In theory.
So,
or better to begin with.
Yeah.
And nobody plays their deep bench anymore. So while Josh Hart is beating up on Mieoni, because nobody's playing everybody's playing their bench or whatever. Mieoni isn't playing in the playoffs, and Josh Hart now, who's he beating up on?
Right. I'm a little surprised we don't see more college teams do this, where it's like
up the tempo big time.
Well, why isn't there a college basketball team that just plays their starters 40 minutes a night?
The whole game?
They're 5 guys, and just we make the tournament every year. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, we only have 5 players, and that's
we don't have 9 good players.
Only
and
have
guess
like
what?
30 games a season.
You don't. Yeah, you have 3 or 4 days off in between every game. Just play those dudes every minute.
It's true.
I'm a little surprised we haven't seen more teams be willing to do that.
It's true. All right, we will talk to you tomorrow on the Jake and Ben Show.
Thanks, Christian.
Scotty G are coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.